The next day, I was walking to my locker and I see Derek and Kendra. Weird. I didn't think he really thought Kendra as a friend. I was just watching them when I see a look on Kendra's face that says, I'm a Derek does not do well with He can give in just like that.
Hi, if you're new here, my name is Marissa or Mursha, and my dog is barking. Anyway, I tried recording this video before when I was recovering from COVID, so you'll see some of that footage later on when I'm reading through a special something for you guys. But I just wanted to re-record this footage yet again to tell you what has been on my mind for the past couple of months. If you were like me and you grew up on Disney Channel, you probably remember this show called Life with Derek. Well, that show has been popping into my head so much more often than a normal person. So I decided maybe I'll dive back into that and take a look at that weird show that everyone remembers from Disney Channel that had incestual vibes between the step siblings, Derek and Casey, in that show. The show aired in the mid-2000s, and it wasn't the only show to have this concept, right? We have the 2005 movie Pride and Prejudice, where the Bennett sisters are sought out by their cousin to keep their estate within their family, which isn't anything new or unrealistic when we're talking about British people anyway. And speaking of realistic, there's also this movie based on the real life instances of this woman named Barbara Daly Bakeland called Savage Grace that came out in 2007 about the incestual relationship between this woman and her son. Bonkers. And then during this time, there was this infamous Folgers commercial titled Coming Home about this guy that comes home to his family. Turns out him and the girl are siblings, but there is so much sexual tension in this commercial. It is so fucking weird on so many levels because the brother comes home from Africa, and when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, you know, I have an older brother in the military, whatever. Obviously, I was happy to see my brother after basic training, stuff like that. You know, it's normal. Like if your sibling is going overseas in a situation where they could die, right? You'd be pretty happy that they come home alive in one piece, right? But no, this guy comes home after prancing around Africa. We don't know what he's doing, but I would imagine that he was on a mission of some sorts, perhaps, you know what I mean? It's giving Book of Mormon, right? And there's just so much sexual tension between him and his sister. It's ridiculous.
What are you doing?
You're my present this year.
Like, what is this? It's coffee. It's coffee. They did not need to do this. It's so fucking weird. It doesn't make any sense. And the biggest offender of this incestual vibe in the mid-2000s was, of course, Game of Thrones, where the first episode literally ends with the Lannisters getting down and dirty in the business, doing what they do, keeping their bloodline pure. But among all these, we have the show Life with Derek, and today we're going to talk about it because it's been on my mind.
Derek, you are the most annoying brother.
Step brother.
Same difference.
Yeah, you're right.
And before we dive in, I want to say that there is a difference between incest, which is illegal, and having weird relationships with your step siblings, which is just frowned upon. I don't think it's really looked on in a good light. Another late 2000s movie that has a very similar vibe regarding the step-sibling relation is none other than Twilight. And Anna Kendrick's character even asks this question in the first movie, which I didn't even think about until, I started doing more research on different movies and shows that have incestual themes in them for this video.
They're like a thing. I'm not even sure that's legal. Jess, they're not actually related.
Yeah, but they live together. It's weird.
And it's just really interesting because when Twilight was at its peak, I don't remember anyone really criticizing this part of Twilight. It is very strange when you think about it. Like, canonically, no one knows that they're vampires, so why is no one else but the passing line from Anna Kendrick's character just saying, how is it okay that these kids are together, like dating? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, the Cullens and the Hales are literally different families and aren't related at all. I mean, some of them are even separated by generations. So, like, I guess it's fine. Where do we stand on that? And I just think it's crazy that at the time, so many people just accepted that that was fine. That was just like, okay, yeah, we love this story about familial vampires living together. Does anyone know what I'm saying? Am I crazy? I think it's almost as bad as just accepting the fact that Jacob imprints on Renesmee. Like, how did she get away with that?
He can't keep getting away with it.
Anyway, I know it's a weird concept altogether, but I appreciate you sticking with me so far. And we're going to get into some really fun stuff regarding life with Derek and its fan base. For those of you that don't remember Life with Derek, firstly, I am very jealous of you. And secondly, let me explain it just a little bit. Life with Derek was a Canadian sitcom that aired on Disney Channel from 2005 to 2009. Disney, I guess, had a relationship with this Canadian network called the Family Channel. And so they would kind of exchange content from time to time. And at a time when Disney Channel was all about shows like Hannah Montana and That's So Raven, Life with Derek offered something a little different. It looked into a blended family dynamic from the antics of step siblings Derek and Casey. And altogether, the show kind of felt like a mix of Lizzie McGuire with Drake and Josh. But I think it had a little bit too much Canadian quirkiness that us Americans weren't quite ready for, if you know what I mean. I mean, it definitely wasn't as influential as some of the other shows on Disney. I mean, there wasn't Life with Derek merch at Walmart, okay? It most likely is a forgettable show. Do people remember this show? I was so surprised to learn that the show actually is on par runtime wise as the other shows on Disney with 4 seasons. 4 seasons. I was shocked to know that shows like Hannah Montana, Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, does it really only have 4 seasons? Are you kidding me? Which is just really crazy to me to think about, that Life with Derek got renewed for so many seasons. Because let's dive into some of these episodes. There's a lot of weird shit in here. So there's an episode of Life with Derek in the first season where there's a wedding and Casey's cousin comes into town, and them being related, right? They kind of look similar, and Derek ends up kissing this character, and on the profile that it shows the cousin, like, you wouldn't know the difference. If I show you this and you haven't seen the show, is it his step sibling or is it his step cousin? Would you know? I bet a lot of people are going to fail that one. There's another episode where the two step siblings get locked in a bathroom for an entire evening, and they end up spraying each other, attacking each other with toothpaste and shaving cream, and it just looks really silly, if you know what I mean. We're getting into a questionable territory here. And then, you know, as the seasons go on, Life with Derek really gives enemies to lovers vibes. Okay, I know a lot of people are into ACOTAR now. I know a lot of people are into dark romances, but I'm telling you, I bet you people that are into dark fantasies, into enemies to lovers, probably shipped Derek and Casey. That's my thoughts, my initial thoughts. Because towards the end of this series, Derek becomes really protective of Casey. In fact, one of the last episodes of the show, him and Casey drive out of town to this party, and I think it's Derek's cousin this time, okay? There's a lot of things with cousins in here, okay? Derek's girl cousin is there. Casey is trying to hang out with her boyfriend, who I guess is long distance or something like that. I don't really know. Besides the point. Well, Casey runs into them kissing each other, and she starts to cry. She starts to, you know, actually break down. Like, I honestly, while watching this episode, I was getting a little teary-eyed. Like, it sucks. It sucks to be cheated on. It sucks to see the people that you care about betray you. So I feel for her. And then when she looks at Derek this time, you know, in her time of need, she's being vulnerable. She's crying, and Derek like instantly switches, and he's like, "Who did this to you?" Ye old romance trope, if you will.
And no one should treat Casey that way. So why don't you go over there and apologize, and then never speak to her again?
Why are you so protective of Casey?
Since now.
But it's actually really sweet. And at the end of the episode, Casey comes to terms with the fact that she actually thinks that Derek is a nice and decent person.
No, maybe he's not such a bad guy after all.
Truman?
No, Truman is scum. meant Derek.
That's sweet until you remember that they're step siblings, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is fucking weird. But the show knew what it was doing, okay? And the actors also knew that there was an entire fan base shipping them. And this is something that I just didn't know. I didn't realize it. I mean, I knew that like people thought it was plausible. Like I thought it might have been like more canonical, you know what I mean? But upon researching for this video, there is a crazy fan base out there, and I feel like it's literally stemmed from the show. You know what I mean? Like the show made the show the way it is for the fan base. They basically go hand in hand. So today we are going to explore one of the fanfics that I read. It's actually the most popular Daisy fanfic. Yes, that is what their ship name is, called Daisy. I'm going to be reading through it with you. It's a wild ride. It is one of the craziest things I've read in a long time. So grab your popcorn, grab your snacks, and let's read along.
One of, if not the most popular Daisy fanfic is called How Did This Happen? There are 38 chapters, and you bet I read every single one of them. Granted, they're not very long, but it sounds impressive when I say it like that. This fanfic was released in 2012, which is a couple years after the show wrapped up. And like most fanfics during this time, and perhaps generally even now, the author was around 13 years old when they published it. This fanfic begins very normally, and it kind of feels like you're reading from an episode script. Basically, Casey walks in on Derek in his boxers in their shared bathroom, and it shakes her up so much because she doesn't realize that she's actually attracted to him because she's so annoyed with him all the time.
Derek!
And if you haven't seen this show, then you should know that it was kind of a silly trope for the step siblings to make bets against each other. And the fanfic stays true to that, instigating a bet that if Derek can't make it to the last level of the video game Babe Raider in one sitting, then the winner gets a dinner paid by the loser, and the loser has to wear the Babe Raider costume to school, which I think Babe Raider is the Canadian Tomb Raider. So Derek wins the competition, and now Casey is the loser. So she goes to school the next day dressed as Babe Raider, and Derek sees her and realizes that she's hot. So after school, they go back home and they end the day by having their first kiss. And this is where everything just starts to fall apart. And I think one of the most interesting things about this fanfic in particular is that there's comments on the fanfic that are relatively recent, like 6 months ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago. Like this fan base is alive and thriving, y'all. So after their kiss, Derek and Casey are navigating their feelings, and Derek seems super stressed. So Casey goes into his room and she says, "Are you stressed?" I ask. "Honestly, yeah, I am," he says with a smile. "But you're carefree, Derek. You're not supposed to be stressed," I state. E just starts laughing. Not like a LOL type of laugh. It was more hee hee. Like, I can't. It's so bad that it's good, okay? And then to complete their bet where the winner gets dinner paid by the loser, they now have to go out to eat. And for some reason, the character Kendra comes over to help Casey pick something to wear. And then Casey's friend Emily is their server at this fancy restaurant for the night. So now we have two people that have kind of seen that they're together, they're going on a romantic date, so just keep that in mind. But this date scene is so funny to me. So they order their food, Casey gets a salad with ranch dressing, and Derek gets a steak. And they talk about like one thing, and then it jumps to Derek looking around. It says barely anyone is in the restaurant. "Where is our food?" he asks. More like, "Where is everyone else?" I say. "What time is it?" I ask. 11:30, he says, PM. "Damn, where is our food?" I say. "Folks, you have to go," says the front desk guy. "We never got our food though," Derek says. "It's right in front of you, sir," the guy says. We look down at our untouched food. How are you gonna look around the whole restaurant and then not notice that your food's right there? And I get it that it's trying to go for those, oh my gosh, we were so lost in the moment, we're so in love that we just didn't know what was happening, but it's just so amazing. And then Derek says, I'm not paying for it, let's go. And they leave the restaurant without paying or eating their food. The things 13-year-olds come up with. And another crazy thing about this fanfic is that after their date, there is a scene where Casey and Derek are talking about their relationship status, and they even say, this would be weird if people thought we were together. Like, people would call the cops if they saw us together in a romantic way. So, like, the author knows this. So why are you continuing to write your fanfic? It's just so funny to me. So the date happened on Saturday, so they spent the weekend kind of together, and now they're back at school on Monday after exploring their relationship. It sounds like they're in the cafeteria ending lunch, and Sam comes up to Casey as they're like leaving the cafeteria. He starts pushing her to accept a date, and she doesn't want to go with him. So Derek punches Sam in the face, and then Sam yells, "We're over, Derek." And it says, "Derek and I get outside. I felt like I was in A Walk to Remember," which is something that this author does so many times, is they just compare a scene to being in a movie. So then Casey accidentally agrees that Derek looks cute in front of Emily, and so that Emily has this idea that Casey likes him. And back at home, Casey's sitting down watching SpongeBob, and Derek comes up to her, and then they start to talk about the incident in the lunchroom at school. Did I mention it's in the lunchroom? Because she says, "You didn't have to do it. I was fine." And then Derek says, "Casey, you were not fine. He could have had sex with you right there. You were lucky that I was there." Oh my God. And it just gets worse. She says, "Lucky, is that it? I thought you wanted to see Sam me." My God. He says, "Why would I want that?" "Because, Derek, you don't care. You're carefree Derek." I say. He stands up. "You think I don't care about you? You think I hate you so much that I don't care about you?" He looked really mad. "Well, you should have known Sam was going to do something the moment I walked over," I say, standing as well. "You don't know everything, Casey," he yells. "You sure act like you do," I say. Act. That's all I do. I'm just acting like I don't care. I act like I enjoy my dates. Is that it?" "Yes, Derek. I don't think you care about anything. It's all an act." He slaps me across the face. It sets me back on the couch. I look up at him, and there are 8 comments on this. Everyone says, "What the fuck are you writing?" And even when I was reading this, I'm like, I've seen some of the show, and Derek was never violent. This is a weird take for the author. Author, if you're watching this, edit out the slap. And then Casey defies all logic by just forgiving Derek because the middle child, Ed, comes up to Casey at home and gives him puppy dog eyes, which just like is absolutely insane. And she basically allows him to have one little outburst, which is so awful. So back at school, the rumor spreads because Emily heard that Casey thought Derek was cute, so she started a rumor that they're dating. So to get out of that, Casey asks Max to hang out, which makes Derek really mad to the point where he almost hits her again. And I mean, I don't mean to dog on a 13-year-old writer, but this really shows their age because I just don't understand the fascination here of having this violence in the fanfic. Like, you can literally, you're making the rules here. You're making the rules here. There's no reason to have this in there. And it's so funny because, again, with the typos, they excuse it and say, we have some violence, but that's a relationship, right? Obviously, this person has never been in a relationship or has maybe grown up in a bad household. Whatever it is, it's batshit crazy. And Casey, once again, forgives Derek way too easily, and then they kiss and make up. And then Liz and Ed, their younger siblings, catch them, and now everyone knows that something's up. So again, to attempt to move out of their fling and the rumors, now Derek is going after Kendra. And it's just so funny when we go back to Casey's point of view here. The next day, I was walking to my locker and I see Derek and Kendra. Weird. I didn't think he really thought Kendra as a friend. I was just watching them when I see a look on Kendra's face that says, "I'm a slut." Derek does not do well with sluts. He can give in just like that. love this. I love this. I had a great time reading this, and it's not even at the craziest point yet. Oh my God. This is so fucking crazy. Okay, so Derek is trying to avoid taking Kendra out on a date. And so she walks away, says, pick me up at 7 o'clock for a date tonight. And he tries to go up to her again and ends up going up to Casey, I guess, because he got them mixed up, and kisses her in front of everyone. And Max says, I thought you said the rumors weren't true, you lying little slut. That one really got to me. Max had just set me to angry mode, and in this mode, I like to get physical, so of course I punch him in the nose. And then everyone's yelling at him, and then it says, then I feel a hand on my shoulder. Me thinking as Casey turns around, and blam! I get punched out, and all I see is black. This chapter is just a wild ride. And then in the next part, Casey brings Derek home, and they go to his bedroom, and they have sex. And the author ends it as the rest is history. So there's that happened. So then Casey is spending the night in Derek's room, and Marty comes in to tell Derek that Lizzie is in the bathroom throwing up for some reason, and Casey's in the room. So then she leaves, but she leaves with Derek's shirt on to find Lizzie in the bathroom throwing up, hugging the porcelain throne, dressed in Edwin's shirt, which I think is supposed to be insinuating that both step siblings have a fling, which is a very common trope in a lot of fan fiction in the Life with Derek fandom, which I kind of hate because you're doing it once. Why? Why do it twice? Why do we need to do it twice? There's no reason to do it twice. So eventually Derek and Casey do the deed again, and the next chapter shows that Casey has a bunch of stomach pains. And it's so funny to me because there's comments on this that say, she's pregnant. And it's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. But it turns out that Derek must have a giant cock because her appendix bursts and she has to go to the emergency room to have surgery. I love this fanfic. It's so funny when they get to the hospital and the doctor says, she has to have surgery, he says bluntly. And this is from Derek's point of view, by the way. What's wrong with her? I ask. It's her appendix. The doctor says the surgery is very difficult and she may not survive. You can have her die at home or she can go through the surgery. It's your choice, he says. Do you take me as a moron? I ask angrily. No, sir, he replies. Then what do you think I'm gonna want you to do? I ask him. I'll get her in the surgery room, he says in fear. Good. He runs away. For some reason, Max, Sam, Emily, and Kendra are also at the hospital, even though everybody seemed to be in a fight at school. They hate each other. They're dating the people that they want to date. So whatever. They're all just sitting, and the doctor finally comes out and the surgery fails. And so the doctor says... she only has about 6 or 7 mins to live. And so he says you can go in groups of 4 or less. For some reason, they have to break up into groups. And so that means that each group gets like 2 minutes to talk with Casey before she dies. So it looks like the family will go first. The dad, Nora, Marty, Lizzie, Edwin, which is a lot of people. That's a lot of people. That's 5 people. And that's not even with Derek. Will go first. And then the friends go second. And then I guess Derek is supposed to go last. And one thing that I just want to point out when the group of friends come in is that Sam, the guy who wanted to date Casey and got punched in the face by Derek, who also punched Derek back in the face later, he says, I'm sorry for everything I did. I know it's too late, but I really am. I wish you the best. And like, what does that mean when you're talking to someone in like hospice care? Like, hope you feel better soon. So now Casey has straight up died and the family is in disarray. The kids aren't eating, aren't sleeping. Lizzie goes to self-harm, which I don't know if that's in character for her. You know, Derek's super sad, and the family goes out to eat one night. Derek is the only person that's like taking it terribly, I guess. And so he doesn't want to go out to eat with the family. He says, no, I'll catch up with you guys later. And so everyone leaves to go get pizza, a little family night, a little sense of normalcy. And what does Derek do while the family's gone? Yeah, he kills himself. And that is basically the end of the fanfic that I really wanted to show you today.
One of the craziest things to me while looking into this fanfic and the fandom as a whole and just life with Derek is that the actors actually supported the ship of their characters, which is really weird, but also I feel like kind of smart on their end. Like they really bought into this fan base, and you know, they didn't have a problem with it, so whatever. But Michael Cedar, who played Derek, and Ashley Leggett, who played Casey, have actually had so many tweets together showcasing how much they would love to read fanfics together. They want to start a podcast literally just to read fanfics together. And they actually did a small episode during the filming of the show, because they do it on the set, of them reading a fanfic.
Hey everyone, it's Ashley and Mike. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna read through like all the things you guys sent in that you want Derek and Casey to do, and we're actually gonna act out some random scenes.
Yeah, we're gonna find a fan fiction, hopefully it'll be yours, and we're gonna act it out. See what happens.
And this fanfic was finished by the time they did this episode. So if you read the full fanfic, you know that the characters make out in chapter 13. I only know that from researching this video. They knew what they were doing. They absolutely knew what they were doing, okay? They even comment several times that like fans want the actors to like make out like so badly. It's so weird. And I don't have personal beef with the show. I don't care about the suggestive themes. Maybe I do ship Derek and Casey. Maybe I'm in the middle of my own fan fiction about them. I won't tell you. But I can understand how some of the takeaways from the show can be misconstrued by the younger audience that are absorbing this kind of material. And it kind of begs the question to me of why did Disney pick up this show rather than networks that already had a more mature nighttime audience like Teen Nick that was airing shows like Degrassi.
And then he shot me.
So do let me know what you think about Life with Derek. Do you remember this show? Did the fanfic spark any core memories? Maybe you read it before. I mean, it has almost 100,000 reads. What do you think about content like this? Is it weird? Is it normal at this point? I mean, countless shows have ancestral themes in it anyway. Our audience is even getting shocked anymore. Is there even shock value? Were you surprised by anything that happened in this fanfic, or do you read worse things? I'm really curious to know what you all think about this, and I had a blast diving into such a weird topic. I cannot wait to do it again. So hopefully you will subscribe so I can see you later, or you can see me later. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!